In 2013, Disney Channel released what would, to many, become one of their best original movies, Teen Beach Movie. Starring Ross Lynch and Maya Mitchell as they somehow find themselves trapped in a classic musical film from the 60s, the film debuted to high praise and to this day continues to have a huge fan base. Because of this, I decided to check out the movie, and yeah, I definitely saw why people liked it.
Interestingly enough though,
2 years later, thanks to the success of the first one, Teen Beach got a sequel, appropriately titled Teen Beach 2. And that movie? Now, if you remember, I had said in my previous video, which if you haven't seen you should totally check out, that I never saw either of these movies going into the retrospectives. But the one thing I did notice was how everybody talked about Teen Beach Movie, but nobody talks about Teen Beach Movie 2. And from what I've heard, there's a reason for that. So join me in part 2 of this retrospective where I review the sequel to the smash hit Disney Channel original movie, Teen Beach 2.
They're rolling.
Teen Beach 2. We're going back to the beach.
Teen Beach 2's coming this summer. The gang is back.
Good to see you.
Everybody's back together.
We wanted to up the ante.
Newer, crazier, bigger stuff. Crazy dance numbers. I'm in it.
And groovier than ever.
So sassy and it's so upbeat.
The singing.
It's gonna get loud. I sing really loud.
The dancing.
And then you're listening to the song more so you can learn the dance. Then when you're dancing, you want to sing the song more.
The sets.
We're definitely stepping it up and everything's a lot bigger and more extravagant.
The surf.
Cowabunga.
Mark your calendars.
It's gonna be amazing.
Disney Channel's original movie, Teen Beach 2, is coming this summer.
Is my hair okay?
Your hair's fine. She's excited.
Teen Beach 2 premiered on Disney Channel on June 26, 2015, almost 2 years after the first one. Usually, there's a lot more to talk about when going over the history of the DCOM's production, but I kind of covered most of it in my first video, so there's not really much else to say. The cast is basically the same. I mean, there are some new people, but I'll talk about them once I get there. Like the first one, this was shot in Puerto Rico and production began in July 2014. For 2015, this movie was still considered a success rating-wise, as it premiered with 5.8 total million viewers. The highest rated Disney Channel movie premiere since, well, you guessed it. How to Build a Better Boy. No, Teen Beach Movie, obviously. The movie begins with a lot more of a tranquil opening scene when compared to the first film. While the original started off with an epic surfing montage, this one is a lot more romantic and sentimental. Brady, to celebrate his 3-month anniversary with Mac, takes her to the exact same spot in which they met, even down to the very minute. He does this to celebrate the most bodacious summer of his life. His words, not mine. He shows Mac this little setup he made so the two can simmer down and talk about the day they met. They described the event as Brady watching the movie West Side Story on his tablet when Mac took notice of him and made her way over. Brady invited her to check out the movie, and although Mac was hesitant at first, she eventually agreed after Brady offered her a mango smoothie if she didn't enjoy it. Okay. I know y'all been waiting for this, so let's address it. I got you. There are 3 things that I need to point out. The first one isn't even all that crazy. I just think it's funny how this movie takes place in the same summer as the first one, even though Ross Lynch looks considerably older. I know how filming and growth spurts work, I just wanted to point it out. Here's the actual main issues though. If you remember, in my first video, I said, we're introduced to these characters during a long surfing montage, where to me it is implied that these two have known each other for a while. Just look at them. They look like the best of friends. Their chemistry is way too good to only know each other for a couple months, right? Just 60, maybe 61 measly days. I'm not tripping on this, right? Just keep that in mind. This to me isn't really a plot hole, but in my personal opinion, it's kind of obvious that the writers originally had a different idea for the time frame of Brady and Mac's relationship. Just judging off their interactions throughout the entire movie, to me it seems like they've known each other for more than just a summer. Am I alone in that? Okay, cool. Now, when they met isn't really an issue because it's never officially confirmed. I do think it's a last minute change, but it's not a plot hole really. Here's where the real plot hole presents itself. In the first Teen Beach movie, it is obvious that Mac has not seen West Side Story. We know this because Brady constantly has to explain the events of the movie to Mac. So now, all of a sudden, the writers decided to retcon that huge plot point and change how things really happened. Now, in this new, random timeline, Mac and Brady watch West Side Story together, which makes no sense because if that was the case, then most of the dialogue that occurred in the first film would not have happened. And somehow, this is the least egregious creative decision that this film made. But we'll get there when we get there. They fire up the movie, and I didn't realize it at first, but they start watching it right from where they left the movie in the first one, which is a pretty clever way to fit in an extra song, since we never actually saw the ending of West Side Story. Eventually, the scene fully transitions to the West Side Story film, and we hear the first track of the movie, Best Summer Ever. And I'm not gonna lie, this does not hit the same. The sauce that the original movie had during the West Side Story scenes are not present in this movie. It's lacking the fun prop and camera work that the first one had. Even the editing feels less clever. The energy, or aura, if you will, isn't there when you compare it to something like Surf's Crazy from the first film. This doesn't seem to bother Brady and Mac though, as they start rocking out to the song themselves, pretending like they were still in the musical. After they're done having fun though, the two get a little serious to reflect on the summer they just had, as school starts the very next day. Brady even wonders if things will be any different for them, since they've never dated while also juggling school. They've kind of just been having non-stop fun for the past 3 months with no real responsibilities. There's even a line there that implies that they never really saw each other in school all the other years, which is kinda interesting, and not in a good way. I'm not going to sit up here and pretend like I came up with this on my own because I'm not Stan Lee, so I'm going to give credit where credit is due. Reddit user InfinitelyAC pointed out that Mac told her aunt in the first movie that there was a wave coming that she waited her entire life to surf on. Then later in the movie, Mac tells Layla that Brady taught her everything that she knows when it comes to surfing. In the vacuum that is the first movie, that kinda works because you could just say Brady and Mac have known each other for years, which is, to me, implied. But then now, once you broaden your scope and incorporate the second movie, that's where things get tricky. Now, Brady and Mac have only known each other for 3 months, which means Brady couldn't have been the one to teach her how to surf because she had a wave that she wanted to surf on for her entire life. That means that somebody else, such as her grandfather for example, would have been the one to teach Mac how to surf. But if that's the case, then there is no way that Brady never took notice of a teen surfer girl around his age that lived in the same area and surfed at the same beach as him. That makes no sense. How did the writers mess this one up? Oh, there we go. That's the issue. Although the director of this movie is the same, they have a whole different squad of writers doing this movie. They even have a different script supervisor. This is definitely why there are so many differences. Before heading back to land, Mac notices that the necklace that Layla gave her at the end of the first movie is gone. Somehow it came off her while she was in the water. Brady offers to die for it, but it's too late. Besides, school starts the next day, so they should probably get some sleep. In the next scene, we finally get a glimpse of what Brady's and Mac worlds really look like, since they spend most of their time in the first one in West Side Story. It looks like your normal high school, but like Disney XD-ified. You got guys in football jerseys, you got some skateboarders, even a couple bikes. We're also introduced to Devin, played by Raymond Cham Jr. Some of y'all might recognize him as the older brother from Mech X4, a show that I enjoyed quite a lot back in the day. Oh my gosh, that green screening is horrible, bro. Good grief. We find out that Devin spent a summer in Indonesia, where apparently surfing is really popular. Huh, I didn't know that. Brady tells Devin that he actually met a girl during his summer, but Devin is under the impression that she's like them. You know, like... That man cannot play basketball. We also get to find out more about Mac, who is a nerd apparently. Although that does make sense considering she almost got sent to a smart school, so. She runs into her nerd friend played by Piper Curda, who you might recognize from I Didn't Do It. She was also in The Flash at one point, where she interacted with Bart Allen, played by Jordan Fisher, who was also in this movie. How nice. Brady and Devin eventually run into her in the hallway, and Mac is a little taken back by Brady just casually wearing flip-flops to school. And while Devin is a little weirded out by Mac being, well, actually prepared for school, Alyssa has the same reaction, but for the two boys' lack of preparation.
I do not have a bag. I do, however, have a pen. How long does that fit in there?
Okay, you guys remember when I said Brady is just a slightly smarter version of Austin Moon? Y'all remember that scene where Austin basically does the exact same thing, but with corn dogs? What'd I tell you? I ain't forget about Pants Sunday either. Later during marine biology class, this dude named Spencer, who ironically in real life is also played by a guy named Ross, starts taking interest in Mac. Not even in a romantic sense either. They just have similar environmental hobbies, since Mac starting her oceanography club and Spencer starting an environmental study society. They start talking about nerd stuff together and Brady gets a little jealous. Maybe the couple doesn't have as much in common with each other as they thought. They catch up with each other later, and because of Mac's busy schedule, it seems like they won't really get the chance to hang out. Another issue that comes up is Brady seemingly having trouble with moving on from the past, as he suggests that the dance be 60s themed in honor of West Side Story. Yeesh, did you not watch the Teen Titans finale? Things change, my guy. But regardless, the one place the two will be able to spend some time together at is the college fair, where Mac has to do some more nerd stuff. Brady agrees to be there though, so he can of course support Mac. In the meantime, he heads home. He starts filling out his college application but gets sidetracked by a side project that he's working on. Ironically, one of the things that Brady struggled with on the application was not being able to write down any unique qualifications that makes him the perfect candidate. But then in the next scene, we see him making a surfboard from scratch, which no doubt requires an understanding of some sort of science thing that I'm not fully aware of. Whether you like it or not, Brady, you's a smart guy. No Taj Mahal. We're then introduced to Brady's mom, and yep, what do you know? She's a single parent. You know, I'm pretty sure in every single Disney Channel movie that I have reviewed on this channel, there's been at least one implied single parent. Let's do a quick count. So in the Sweet Life movie, obviously we know the deal with their parents. In Hatching Pete, Cletus lived with his dad and his dad only. Starstruck is an interesting one because both of the main leads had both of their parents. However, it's revealed in the movie that Stubby has lived with Chris Wilde for some time now, which might imply that something happened to his parents. Either way, Jessica's grandfather is dead, so technically, one of her parents at one point in time had a single parent, and I think that counts. Not a Disney Channel movie, but in Best Player, Jeanette McCurdy had a single mom. I feel like somebody had a single parent in Minutemen, and it might have been Zeke, but I don't remember because no one's parents were really present in Minutemen from my memory, so we'll leave a question mark on that one. Not a Disney movie, but the main dude in Spectacular lived with his brother. I'm pretty sure both of his parents died. In Jump In, Corbin Blue's mom died, and in Frenemies, Cobra Kai girl only lived with her dad. Obviously, in Teen Beach Movie, Mac's mom died and her dad was just never really mentioned, and finally, Brady lives with his mom. The next Disney Channel movie I review, spoiler alert, will likely be Den Brother, and just judging off the title alone, I am fairly certain that somebody's mom is dead. Brady starts expressing to his mom some of the issues he's been having at school, and his mom barely even gives him any advice. What kind of mom are you? No wonder why your husband left. We finally get another glimpse into the West Side Story world, where it looks like the advice that Mac gave Layla is starting to affect the events of the movie. Layla ends up breaking character and volunteers to go with Tanner and the other men in the movie to destroy the machine. This causes a weird moment of disruption for a little bit until Layla and everyone else goes back to normal. More on this later. For now, it looks like Brady locked in a little too hard and forgot that he was supposed to meet Mac at her science thing. So he fumbles around this house trying to put some proper clothes on and finally makes it out the door only for him to arrive after the event finishes.
Mac, what's going on?
Man, you're a trash boyfriend, that's what's going on. This dude Spencer's probably like, he did it again, huh? They get into an argument about what just happened, and I gotta say, anyone with a brain has to be on Mac's side, right? I mean, Brady seemingly still has some growing up to do. What also doesn't help is that he doesn't want to tell Mac for whatever reason that he's been making a surfboard, so he can't even properly explain why he was late. The two come to the conclusion that maybe they work best as a summer couple, not a real one. This fight leads to a little montage set to the second song of the movie, Me, Myself, and I. I do actually kind of remember this one from commercials. Turns out, this dude Brady somehow transformed into a one-man band now. Man, if you don't stop all this moping and complaining about Mac and get yourself a record deal or something, you made a whole song by yourself, bro. You are a generational music talent. This does pose the question, when exactly did he learn how to do all this? It's never really implied in the first movie. You know what? You can shut me up, bro. Forget it. You want something different right now, boss man. I apologize for disrespecting you in the first movie. You're singing now. This song kind of bangs, I won't lie. Meanwhile, in the West Side Story verse, Layla continues to break character, which in return starts breaking their universe. She steps out for some fresh air and Tanner follows. Turns out, Layla really misses Brady and especially Mac. She even wants to be like her. So after finding the necklace, she realized that the portal connecting the two worlds must still be there. And because of that, she decides to attempt to find Layla so she could be with her again and learn from her ways. She waves goodbye to the crowd of people that randomly spawn behind her and quickly makes her way into the ocean, hoping to find her friend again. And Tanner decides to follow suit.
Hang loose. We'll be right back with the premiere of Teen Beats 2 on Disney Channel. Surf's up. We're back with the premiere of Teen Beats 2 on Disney Channel.
There is something interesting about the way this movie handled the West Side Story crew coming out of their world versus how the first movie did. In the first one, everyone kind of just magically appeared and it's never really explained why or how. In this one though, only Layla and Tanner show up. I don't consider this a plot hole or anything though. It's obvious that the writers of this movie had a much different idea for the sequel, and I agree that a simple retcon to change how they entered the real world instead of being forced to come up with the reason why all of them came out of the water just because the first movie did is much better suited. They do, however, recreate the scene where they're amazed by the technology of today's world, but instead they added other stuff like electric guitars and whatever this is. This dude trying to be Green Goblin so bad. Eventually, Layla and Tanner run into Mac and Brady, who coincidentally happen to be there on the beach as well. And the two try their best to explain to Layla and Tanner where exactly they are.
Let's just say we're in the future. Cool.
Cool? Tanner, that is way cooler than cool.
Immediately, the two musical characters do what musical characters do and burst into a musical number. I don't really think this makes sense. Like, should Layla and Tanner actually know the words to other songs if they haven't been written by whoever wrote the movie? Or do the rules change just because they're in Mac and Brady's world now? Well, regardless, the song is called Right Where I Wanna Be, and it's kind of mid. There is no sauce to the production of this song or the scene. Choreography is kind of mid too. They kind of just waddle around like penguins. Part of what made the first movie cool is that everyone was involved in the musical number scenes, and yeah, this one doesn't really require such an extravagant treatment since it really is just about Layla and Tanner and they are in the real world. But like, maybe that's a sign that a sequel, at least one with this kind of plot, isn't a good idea. While Layla and Tanner enjoy all the new advancements of today's world, Mac and Brady lock in and figure out what exactly they should do with them. After all, there's a chance that if they stay too long in this world, they might cease to exist. This movie is basically Fat Albert, but like, not good. But there's also no Bill Cosby in this one, so I guess it balances out. It also kind of gives off Barbie vibes as well. That's probably a more accurate comparison. Eventually, they decide to show them all the bad stuff about their world in hopes that they would make them want to go back. Yeah, that's a good idea, honestly. Y'all should show them like racism or something. That'll probably turn them off. iScared coming in clutch too. He just gave you all the material you need. Layla tries to help Mac blend into the modern world by letting her borrow her clothes. But because of her magical movie abilities, everything she wears just gets 60s-ified. That's like one of the only clever things so far that I've seen in this movie. Then meanwhile, in the West Side Story verse, Butchie and the rest of the main characters are starting to feel really out of place since the two main leads aren't there to keep the movie going. Because of this, he assigns Chi Chi to start singing a song like Layla would've. This leads to a redux of Fallen For Ya, and finally, Jordan Fisher gets to sing. Man, it's about time they used him. Unfortunately, this version is trash, though not even Jordan Fisher could save it.
This don't feel right. None of it. Not one thing.
Does it help if I do this?
You know what? That actually does kind of help. That's pretty decent, yeah.
Oh yeah, a guy dies, by the way. Back to the real world, Brady and Mac lay down some ground rules to Tanner and Layla, which basically entailed not drawing attention to themselves. But of course, they don't listen. Eventually though, thanks to a bit of teasing, the two start to realize that the people in this world aren't as nice or happy as the people in theirs. Honestly though, were they not also getting teased or at least heckled in West Side Story? That was the whole point, right? Like the bikers did not like the surfers? I don't know, this shouldn't exactly be new to them. Nevertheless, this leads to another song, and honestly, this is the only one so far that actually feels like there was real effort put into it. Like, the song is still mid, but at least the scene is still kind of clever. Alright, I gotta figure out how to make this video interesting because this movie certainly isn't. I have a headcanon that whenever someone from the music world travels to the real one, they radiate this energy that infects everyone around them with the urge to sing. That's why they all bursted out in the song at the end of the first one, even the background characters. And that's why everyone is bursting out in the song now, because really, this doesn't make sense and it never has. I'm literally going off of the rules of this movie and the first one, which they've seemed to have abandoned multiple times. The whole reason why Layla and Tanner can't sing is because it would draw attention to themselves, because spontaneously bursting into song is not something that is normal for this universe. Yet, it just keeps happening anyway. Later, Tanner tries to meet up with Layla to ask if she wants to hang out, but she can't because she has calculus homework. Should I even bother pointing out that it's kind of impossible for them to be already enrolled into that school or nah? I feel like that's one of the only times where it's a Disney movie for kids is a valid excuse. I'll let it slide. But Brady takes Tanner home and the two get to talking about their respective girlfriends and the issues they're having with them. Tanner, for once, is talking like a real person with a real issue. He gets going on about how when Layla went into the water to come to the real world, he felt the feeling of worry for the first time. Worry that she wanted to go there because he wasn't enough for her. And the way that his actor delivers this line is like kind of heartbreaking. You can tell that Tanner is genuinely struggling with this new emotion because while he is still upbeat and positive, he also looks and sounds like he wants to break down into tears.
I'm worried that Layla wanted to come to this strange world because I wasn't enough for her.
It's enough to make a grown man cry, but not this man. Get back in there, Tia.
And then meanwhile, this dude Brady is all like, yeah, well, Mac is mad at me because I've been making surfboards. Like, man, if you don't get out of the way and let Tanner keep speaking, I actually genuinely feel bad for bro. He shows Tanner some of the stuff he's been cooking up, like his foldable surfboard. Even more impressive though, is a surfboard that doesn't need any waves to function. Remember that. Brady says he doesn't want to tell Mac because while he's just been making surfboards all day, Mac has her whole life planned out and he doesn't think she'd understand. Hey Brady, did you know that Mac is also a surfer? My brother, you were making groundbreaking technology that doesn't exist anywhere else, which by the way requires an understanding of some sort of science and probably a couple math problems. It's not like you're a complete idiot. Matter of fact, a little while ago, she literally passed on attending a prep school just so she can continue to surf with you. If anyone in the world would understand, it would be her. Also, doesn't her grandpa literally make surfboards? That's like me now wanting to tell my girlfriend that I want to become a rapper in fear of her not being able to understand, but meanwhile her dad is Ludacris or something. Come on, man. You know, Ludacris actually performed in my hometown recently. That was nice of him. While that's going on, the girls are having a similar conversation themselves. After talking about their boyfriends for a little bit, Mac notices that Layla is wearing modern clothes, meaning that she's slowly starting to blend into the real world. The same is happening to Tanner, as his teeth have lost the ability to sparkle whenever he smiles, and he's able to feel the effects of water. I made this comparison before and I'll most likely do it again, but this movie is literally just Fat Albert at this point. During the second act of Fat Albert, the cartoon characters that came to the real world are slowly starting to become one with it. So they have to go back into the TV before they all turn into celluloid dust. The issue is though, Fat Albert is struggling with this concept, so in order to get the answer he desires, he goes to his alleged creator, who is, well, Bill Cosby. I bring this up because once the two tell Tanner and Layla that they are in fact movie characters and they need to go back to their movie world, Layla takes on the role of Albert and struggles with the concept of being a movie character. To explain this to them, they of course sing a song. This one is called Silver Screen, and it's alright. You'll notice though, they basically just try to recreate the Can't Stop Singing scene from the first film by bringing in props and other background actors. I can't say this scene is sauceless, but it's also just less unique considering we basically had this in the first one. It is a very well done scene though. Honestly, I know this probably would have been too much for the movie and wouldn't have fit, but I personally would have done something using a 2D animated character. Like the old Gene Kelly movie where he's dancing with Jerry the Mouse. I'm not saying I would have like remade that scene or something, but some animated birds flying around them would have not only been cool, but also would have separated it from Can't Stop Singing. I don't know, just my 2 cents. Anyway, Layla's like, cool song, but I still don't want to go back, so she chucks her necklace back into the ocean, which of course makes her go right back to the West Side Story verse. The movie characters notice it in the water and put 2 and 2 together. Considering people have been disappearing left and right since Tanner and Layla left, Butchie decides that the only way to fix their world is to leave it and bring them back. So that's what they do.
We're going back to the beach. Cool. Teen Beach 2 soundtrack is here. We're hanging with the cast of Teen Beach 2 to hear about their favorite songs.
If you have this beach ball in your hand, you have to say your all-time favorite song from the soundtrack. Mine is That's How We Do.
Mine's definitely gonna be Gotta Be Me. There were like
6,000 people in the gym. It was amazing.
Upside down. You can get all the songs from the movie with new music from Sabrina Carpenter, R5, and more. Teen Beach 2 soundtrack, available now.
In the middle of all the stuff happening with Tanner and Layla, I kind of forgot that Brady and Mac are going through a rough patch right now. Either that or I just don't care. One of the two. It's definitely the second one. I don't really feel like covering it though, so we're just going to skip to the part where all of the West Side Story characters emerge from the water and greet Tanner and Layla. They say that they're there to take them home, but the two are quick to deny them, saying that they truly don't want to go. Eventually, the other characters explain that not only do they miss the two, but they kinda, well, need them, since people keep disappearing. Layla starts to feel guilty because people keep dying on her behalf, and yeah, that's kind of valid.
It's not your fault.
Yeah, it is. Don't lie to her, Mac. So, for the second time, Brady and Mac have to say goodbye to the West Side Story crew as they go into the water. At first, it looked like the two were going to talk things out since they're still beefing, but they kind of just go their separate ways. Besides, Mac has to set up for the dance. At the dance, the DJ slows things down by playing a song called Rescue Me. And the timing of this is really funny because the song is actually made by Sabrina Carpenter, who is absolutely killing it right now. Bro, good gracious? If this video gets 500,000 views, I'll do a Girl Meets World video. Which crash that, that's kind of crazy. I'll do like one episode or something.
Guessing things aren't totally simpatico with the little beach bunny?
Things are a little not simpatico. I'm wondering how I can make things not simpatico, you know?
What are you guys talking about? Is that a word? Anyway, before Brady tries to smooth things over with Mac, they get interrupted by the West Side Story gang, crashing the school dance. Turns out they came back because of Tanner wanting to help Brady with his relationship with Mac. Alright, cool, but what is everyone else doing here? Y'all can go home. Tanner basically tells Brady to lock in and remember that he's actually a cool guy with cool talents. He is Knuff. That joke's about a year too late. In an effort to, I don't know, I guess impress Mac or win her back, he goes up on stage and, you guessed it, sings a song. This one is called Gotta Be Me, and I gotta say, this song kind of slaps. It's like one of the only good ones. Both Ross Lynch and Maya Mitchell are floating on the track, and the production is great as well. The scene even has some sauce, man. Where was this the first few songs? The entire scene is like a dance-off between boys and girls. It's kind of like the Justin Bieber Baby music video. My only issue with the song is that it kind of lasts a little too long. I could have done without the part where they start talking like Crazy Frog. Fire song though. Oh yeah, Butchie dies by the way. This makes everyone ramp up the going home process. Layla asks Brady and Mac that if they didn't have the necklace when they originally entered their world, then how exactly did they do it? This makes them remember the special surfboard from the first movie. So they head to Mac's house to commence Operation Send the Surfers and Bikers Home.
Let's do it.
Yo, where is Mac's grandfather at, bro? I miss him. Mac and Brady rush to the other characters to try to get them all home, but there's one big issue. There's no surf. And you can't surf if there's no surf. Oh man, not giggles! No! Come on man, we gotta wrap this out! Everyone else disappears besides Tanner and Layla, how convenient. Brady realizes the only way for them to be able to surf is if they use his new invention. So while Tanner and Layla set things up, Brady and Mac head to his workshop. This is when Mac sees all of the surfboards that Brady has been making and puts two and two together that this is what he's been hiding from her. He goes on to explain that he didn't tell her because of all the reasons that we heard earlier in the movie. She's got this whole vision for her life and he's just making surfboards.
I just thought that, I don't know, you wouldn't respect it.
Well, my grandfather has made boards his whole life. It's an art.
Thank you, Mac! Thank you, exactly! This whole spat between Brady and Mac was just a cheap way to add conflict to this movie. It makes no sense for Brady to think like this. This movie's so stupid, man. You will never be Teen Beach Movie. The two make up or whatever, and Brady unveils his latest invention, the waveless surfboard. But then they head back to Tanner and Layla and attach the emblem from the old surfboard onto the new one, because I guess that's where the surfboard gets its powers from. From there, the two movie characters head out into the ocean to finally go home, once and for all. Mac brings up an interesting point though. Hypothetically speaking, if this doesn't work and Layla and Tanner vanish, then that would mean West Side Story never happened. Which means that Brady never went out to the beach to watch it. Which means that the two of them would never actually meet each other. But Brady reassures her that there isn't anything in this world that would make him forget her. Oh my gosh, Skip! While saying goodbye to Layla, Mac basically tells her to change the movie so it can become the story she wants it to be, which is horrible advice actually, but we'll see why later. Brady heads out to the water with Tanner and Layla to help them power on the surfboard. Except it doesn't work, so we get a ridiculously long scene of him trying to fix it. Finally, he gets going though, and the two West Side Story protagonists go home. However, not everything works out the way that they wanted it to. You see, when Brady gets out the water, he runs right past Mac. He barely even looks at her, meaning the timeline has officially been rewritten. Mac and Brady do not know each other. What? You're joking, right? Man, no wonder why nobody likes this movie. This is one of the dumbest third acts I have ever seen. You did not have to end it this way, bruh. Even like the worst episode of, say, Zeke and Luther is better than this. So wait. Not only is this stupid, but it makes no sense. Here's why. West Side Story not existing should theoretically undo a lot more than just Brady and Mac's relationship. Mac shouldn't even be here because if you recall, the only reason why she chose to stay with her grandpa is because of what she learned from her experience at West Side Story. So if that never happened, then she should be in that private school. Yes, I consider that to be a plot hole. There's more I have to say on that topic, but I'll wait until a little later. Oh my goodness. One thing I kind of do appreciate them doing is coming up with an actual new reason for why Brady was in the water, as it was Devin who suggested that he tried out night body surfing, and although he did end up doing it, obviously with the water being flat, he didn't really catch anything. Another new addition to this timeline is the Save the Beach dance, which is outside, and even more interesting, it's a fundraiser set to the theme of the 1962 beach movie, Layla, Queen of the Beach. And instead of it being an old cult classic film that only a few people have seen, this one ended up being a huge hit. Brady and Mac, technically for the first time, start interacting with each other, and even though they've never met before, something tells me that they are just meant to be together.
So then we agree that it's the awesomest movie ever made. And I said, I don't think awesomest is a real word, and even if it was,
I'm not sure that movie's exactly my jam. Then I said, check it out with me. If you don't have a good time,
I'll buy you a mango smoothie.
I'll buy you a mango smoothie. I do love mangoes.
And you're gonna win either way.
Either way, you win.
A little later, Mac stands on a truck to announce the start of the film's viewing, as we get a little glimpse of it. It starts off similar to West Side Story, but we get a brand new Layla-led song called That's How We Do. But eventually, the camera pans out, and we see that everyone watching it is singing along as well. All of them following Mac's lead. Even Brady, who hasn't even seen this movie, but somehow knows the lyrics, whatever. And yeah, they do this until the end of the— Whoa! I didn't know he can do that! Yeah, anyway, like I was saying, they do this until the end of the movie. The scene specifically, when you take the context away, isn't actually all that bad. It's a cool way to end the movie. I even like this little wink at the camera that Layla does, which may or may not be meant for Mac and Brady. But when you remember that Mac and Brady literally don't even know each other for real, it loses all its cool points. Like, why are these people hugging and getting all close and stuff when they've only known each other for 10 minutes? I don't know, maybe I'm applying too much logic to this stupid movie. Regardless, that wraps up Teen Beach 2, and considering they never made a third one, this wraps up the entire franchise as well. So, final thoughts on Teen Beach 2. This movie is like if you take the plot of Fat Albert, but give it the same ending as Spider-Man No Way Home, which is insane to think about. But okay, before I look at it as a sequel, I want to look at it as a movie, specifically a Disney Channel original movie. As a Disney Channel original movie, it's bad, but I also don't think it's on the same tier as stuff like Frenemies or Starstruck, movies that I openly hated. I actually have a Letterboxd account, which by the way, y'all should totally follow. And on it, I actually rank every DCOM that I've reviewed on my channel, aside from Geek Charming, which I was going to make a video on, but scrapped it once I did 2 seconds of research and saw what happened between the two main leads. Not gonna get into it, Google it yourself. It's not a Geek Charming video. I did like it though. And you can see I have it right between Jump In, which I thought was just okay, and Starstruck. It loses a lot more points for me when you factor in the whole sequel aspect. And again, It's still bad. I don't think it's horrible like some of those other movies. Even though I personally felt there was less thought and care put into this one than the first one, it still has a higher production quality than most other decons. I gotta give it that at least. The writing was definitely not one of the movie's strong suits though. Wow. Forgetting the retcons and controversial ending, I feel like the writers felt like they just had to include a conflict in this movie, so they went with the whole Mac, my surfer girlfriend, won't understand that I like making surfboards thing. It did not work for me at all. It was not compelling in the slightest. The music was really forgettable too, aside from That's How We Do, On My Own, and Gotta Be Me. And only the latter two do I think are genuinely good songs. Part of the charm and appeal, and even what helped the first Teen Beach movie stand out, was seeing these regular people in the 1960s world. That's interesting. Why would I want another movie just for it to take place in our world? That's not really all that fun. I mean, I get it. They wanted to do a sequel since the first one did so well. I'm not mad at that. But at the same time, I don't think Teen Beach is something you can do twice. It's just too unique to top on a Disney Channel budget. One of the differences between this movie and the first one was how it handled the characters. Mac, at least to me, was the real lead of Teen Beach movie, but in this one, things are a lot more equal between her and Brady since the main conflict of the movie is actually centered around them. But even though the characters were more balanced this time, I still prefer how they were written in the first one. Layla and Tanner, on the other hand, were honestly really cool though, especially Tanner, who low-key was my favorite character in the movie. He was just really excited about everything, and it was endearing to watch. Even when his character needed to get serious, I was impressed with the way they handled it. And Layla was cool too. I just personally don't have much to say about it.
She is very gorgeous to me!
The other West Side Story characters had even less of a presence in this one than they did in the first one, although at least Jordan Fisher got to sing more. Now, as for the sequel aspect, this is where things get rough. Now, allegedly, the reason why a third movie didn't happen is because of Ross Lynch's Disney contract expiring around that time. So I understand why they wanted to end the franchise here with the second one. My issue, and from what I've gathered, everyone's issue, is the fact that they made this movie just to undo all of the first one. And for what? Y'all didn't need to do that. Why couldn't Mac and Brady just be a happy couple and then end it there? This now opens up a bunch of plot holes, one of them being the fact that this new Layla movie only exists because of the characters, specifically Mac, going to the West Side Story universe. But if West Side Story doesn't exist, then that means that they never traveled there, which means that Mac never influenced Layla, which means Layla never changed the movie, so it becomes Layla Queen of the Beach. So why does this new movie even exist? I spend a lot of my time thinking about time travel and timelines and stuff because I'm a comic book fan, right? I'm a nerd. So I know sometimes you can just say, oh, well, everything is protected by the Speed Force or the Pym particles and call it a day. But you can't do that here. It's just simply bad writing. And yeah, it's a kids movie and kids aren't supposed to think about stuff like that, but I've also seen really good kids movies with good writing. As someone who became maybe not a fan of Teen Beach Movie, but an appreciator of it, I definitely see why this ending made people mad and why nobody wants to talk about this movie. Because I don't even want to talk about the movie right now, and I kind of have to.
To like put this in perspective, imagine if the end of High School Musical 3 had like, what was Zac Efron's character name? Troy Bolton coming down with like amnesia or something, and he couldn't remember Gabriella. And then just like, that's how it ended. So they have to start their relationship over again. That's what this is like.
One interesting aspect about the whole characters coming to the real world thing that I felt should have been touched on but wasn't, was the idea of the characters meeting some of the cast and crew of West Side Story. I know it would have felt too much like Fat Albert, obviously, but Mac and Brady taking Layla and Tanner to see the actors that played them all old and shriveled up as part of their way to help them understand they are just movie characters would have been interesting, at least to me. The scene could have been really sweet, especially if you got actors who used to star in those kinds of 60s movies to play them. That would have opened up a whole new aspect to the movie and would have helped separate it from the first one. But instead, we got this slot. Teen Beach 2 is a cash grab that not only ignores some of the lore from the original film, but literally undoes it for almost no reason. And the unfortunate part about it is that thanks to its mediocre writing and mostly uncompelling characters, it's not worth giving a pass on any level. It also means that the Teen Beach movie franchise will never be able to compete with some of the other Disney Channel movie franchises thanks to it only having one good movie. As just a movie, Teen Beach 2 gets a 2 out of 5 from me. But as a sequel to a movie that's actually kind of good, I'd knock it down to like a 1.7. I'd ask you guys in the comments below what you guys think about this movie, but I'm pretty sure you already know. So I'm just going to skip to the whole subscribe if you're new, and don't forget to hit the like button thing. And this has been an interesting experience for me, visiting these popular movies that I haven't seen. I'm thinking next time I do a franchise, it'll be Camp Rock, since I haven't seen either of those movies either. That might be a fun project. For now though, look out for the combined version of this project, which will release at some point that'll feature bonus content not seen in any of the 2 videos I've posted. Until then though, I am Mr. Nostalgia. I am out for now. Peace.